Bonjour, je suis ravi de participer ce matin à la seconde édition de l'ADTECH SUMMIT. Je m'appelle Mark Howe et je suis directeur à Google EMEA pour agence et des relations industrie. Et that's the sum of my French. So, I do apologise that my French is not good enough, and I've been told to speak slowly so that the interpreter can get it right. But whilst I've been actually at Google now for 14 years, oui, ça fait 14, incroyable, non? Oui? Who would be at 14 years at Google? C'est moi. But before Google, I actually spent 20 years in the advertising industry in the UK in the television advertising market. And I've always been committed to supporting the advertising industry. I've always been part of the industry trade associations in the UK and now across Europe. I sit on the board of IAB Europe. And I'm delighted that we've now built out an industry relations team across our major markets in Europe, most notably here in France. As France is leading so many initiatives in this area, I'm delighted we now have a full-time team here in Paris. And I hope you can all get to meet Catherine Sedillier, our Industry Relations Manager here in Paris. And of course, Isabelle Lenchanteur, who I'm sure many of you already know, that runs our agency business here in France. But as the title of my talk suggests, we are committed to sharing a privacy-focused web that works for everyone, but equally, one where privacy and ads personalization are not at odds. And I'd like to start with a little test, a little example to share how these things can be picked up by asking you a few questions, if that's okay with you. The first question is, and it's probably in this audience, and the lights are very bright, so I'm trying to look to see if I can see hands up. I'd like you all to raise your hands if you've ever been to San Francisco. Actually, it's about 50% of the room. Now, what about if you like swimming? Especially perhaps open water swimming in the sea or the lakes. Again, about 50%, two quite large groups. What about those who have been to San Francisco and like swimming? How big's that group? Yeah, that's about 35%, I say. But how about those who like swimming, have been to San Francisco and swum in a swim event, an open water swim event in the San Francisco Bay? I think that's just me. In fact, I have escaped from Alcatraz 3 times now in the swim. But the example really is just to try and show you that the intersection of questions online can lead to certain privacy concerns. You know, when we ask about San Francisco and swimming, it's a sizable group. But when you overlay certain other questions, like competition, you very quickly get down to a reduced group and potentially identify an individual. In this instance, that was me. And we know within the ad industry that the technology now allows us to take from large size groups down to small, to perhaps individual personalization. And as I say, we are committed to trying to ensure that we understand how we can better improve the web and personalization on the web. Because the 3 guiding principles for privacy at Google are transparency, choice, and control. And they're very much the same as the 3 principles that the IAB would probably support. And actually within this, there are sort of 3 players within the market. There's users, publishers, and advertisers. And each have their own critical concerns about privacy, or they're just generally critical concerns. If you think about users are obviously concerned about privacy. They're concerned about the data that's collected about them, how it's collected, They're concerned about product malware. They're concerned about news or information they received being truthful, not fake. And the user must always come first. For advertisers, clearly, critical concern for advertisers is effectiveness, having an effective relationship with their consumers, building trusted relationships that are effective with their consumers. But equally, knowing that what they're buying is what they think they're buying. They want to optimize, they want to ensure that their advertising is effective and that that trusted relationship can build over time. And for publishers, well, of course, they're concerned about privacy. They're concerned about this trusted relationship that advertisers and users are concerned about. But they have to earn from this content. They have to be concerned about monetization, because this ad monetization is what controls the web and gives us the great content that the web is reliant on. And for publishers, I mean content owners, whether that be journalism, whether that be music, whether that be video, whether it be apps, all forms of publication. And it is critical that all three work together. The ecosystem is a critical and complex one. But I've got the slides in slight one, so go forward and I'll come back one if I can. What is important, as I say, it's a critical relationship between those tripartite, and we all have to work together. But at Google, user must come first. It's essential that we understand and we support our users. And to that end, we have built into every one of our products the ability for the user to monitor what is being said about them, what is being collected about them, through the My Account. And I do just want to ask each one of you, how many of you have gone into your own My Account in the last month to understand what is being collected about you and are you controlling your own data? Have you anyone been in My Account? Yeah, probably less than have actually swum in San Francisco Bay. So let's be honest. We're challenging the universe, we're challenging the ecosystem to understand this, but we're probably not actually adopting ourselves as individuals. But here in France, the slide I just jumped across, and I don't quite know how to go back on this, so it might be that one. Oh, yes, I do. Actually, is that in France here, we this autumn launched a 20 cities safety tour in places like Clichy-sous-Bois, Orléans, and Nancy, to talk to normal people, talk to individuals, and talk to communities at large about their privacy and the tools that they can use. And at the heart of that tool is the My Account. But as I said, meanwhile, whilst we're talking about trying to privacy and we're talking about at the user level, there's a lot of headlines in our industry about cookies going away, the death of the cookie. Reality is, there are a few browsers that are not using cookies so as to stop ads personalization. And in truth, all that's happened is that's backfired. Because without a suitable alternative on those browsers, what it's enabled and what it's allowed is for the rise in certain quarters of device fingerprinting. And I think we all know that device fingerprinting from a user's point of view is a backward step. With cookies, you can understand, you can see where your data is being used. With device fingerprinting, users are just not in control of their own information. And as I say, that is a backward step and something that we want to try and challenge. So at Chrome, we are launching a couple of new things. One, when you trying to support personalization and privacy, we're launching a new cookie where if you drop a cookie, you have to explicitly describe whether that cookie is a cross-site cookie, i.e., can the domain share that information with the cookie? Equally, we are insisting that any transfer of those cross-site cookies has to be through HTTPS, that all of you obviously know, is the more secure protocol of HTTP. It's essential that we work together to do this. It is a complex system. And we want feedback. We can't do it on our own. So what we have done, actually, is opened up an online forum and an online form. I hope some of you may have already seen this form that we are sharing with industry bodies and sharing with the industry so that we get suggestions from users and from the industry back to our engineers to ensure that we know more about how to utilize this technology. Equally, here in France, we're already talking with the IAB, with GEST, and with UDICAM. And so hopefully we look to you for as much feedback as we can get. And I hope that you will all work with Isabel and Catherine and the team here in Google to give us that feedback or use this form. But to ensure that we get on top of this, and to ensure that we lead a strong privacy-led web focused with ad personalization not at odds with each other, the first thing we've done is also challenge our engineers to do more with less data. More with less data. The issue is we're absolutely over-informed with data. All of us have more data than we know what to do with. More with less. What it's meaning is, for example, we're using cookies without browsers without cookies. We're using machine learning to do third-party ad tracking, and ultimately we're using it in the ads business. We're using it in our consumer business. Because if we can use less data, it means less data, means lower data costs for the user, means much more transparency. And going forward, we look to the industry to pull it all together and work with us to do more with less. Equally, this August, we launched an initiative called the Privacy Sandbox. I don't know how many of you have seen the Privacy Sandbox, but ultimately, it's an environment where we believe we can be much more secure with ads personalization and privacy. And equally, we have sent out now a number of we've sent out a number of forms so that people can again work with us to add to this vision. We don't believe we have all the answers. We don't believe we know it all, but we do want to change the vision of ads personalization through the Privacy Sandbox, whether it be measurement, whether it be audience selection, whether it be fraud protection, whether it be anti-fingerprinting. Please work with this for those that know about the Privacy Sandbox. Because at the heart of what we're trying to do is to ensure that you can have better personalization with better ads privacy. And there are two fundamental concepts that we want to continue to drive, that you can have a privacy-focused web where advertisers can be effective and keep users' data private and safe, and that technology is enabling us to be much more personal with less personal data at scale. And I'm looking at the clock here, knowing I'm over time. We can't do it together, can't do it alone. We want to do it with the industry. We're already working with the industry on things like the IAB Tech Lab for version 2 of the TCF, and hopefully that will be launching in the early part of next year. We're supporting industry in that. We want to work with you as the industry. We want to be much more committed to the industry than we've ever been, and hence why I'm here with you today. But equally, we believe that you can do great ads personalization and keep it private. Doing it together, we can win. Doing it alone, it will just take far too long. And quite frankly, from my point of view, if we don't get Brexit right in the UK, the next big swim I'll be doing will be across the English Channel and coming back to live here with you in France. Merci and au revoir.